Welcome back, ladies and gents. Now you're watching this because you've seen the last video where we were talking about preparing this room for spraying stroke painting, and the last time you saw me I spoke about the wash coating with the ice mat. Now I did tell you I'd come back and talk to you on a separate video about the woodwork, and I'm doing that. Now, as all good decorators, painters and decorators know, sometimes you have to roll with it. Now my plan is this woodwork will be sprayed prior to doing the finish of the ceiling and the walls. Now what I'd planned to do today is just, let's just say altered, because stuff's still hanging a little bit wet in the corners. I have got a door open, and if you can hear in the background, the max vac is still running to keep the air nice and clear, which it is doing what it's supposed to do. But the plan was I was going to put a primer coat on all the woodwork, because some of it's gloss, some of it is MDF. I've already done some filling and preparing and rubbing down, but because some of it is MDF and I've had to rub through where screw holes, nails have been, and done some filling, it's gone back down to the bare MDF. Now my plan was to get a nice fine spray coat on all the woodwork, which will give me a good base to actually finish with. And you're going to go, oh no Phil, what are you doing? I'm going to be using anthracite colour. Yes, anthracite. And the paint that I'm using, because I know that it sprays really well, is the Bedec MSP. So the woodwork will be done in the woodwork will be done in MSP, but because I don't want to be just putting 2 coats of MSP on to surfaces that are pre-primed, pre-painted, and some areas that have got filler on, I wanted to give a primer coat first. Now, a nice primer coat, I don't know if you've seen this, I joked with this probably last year using a Lane Off brush. This is Bedec's All Prime. Now this does everything that you need it to do. It's even got stain blocking properties. This as the first coat, acting as a primer, will be ideal. And sorry about the mess on the front of the tin. Brian, who's worked with us since, Brian, who's worked for us since 1966, had a little bit of an accident wiping round, say no more. But this will be a good base to blank out anything that's been previously glossed, previously had some filler in it, which I've done yesterday and straight this morning, and also just act as that base primer coat for the 2 top coats that will be going on. Now the plan was I was going to spray it with and it's just off camera, with the Quick Shot, but because stuff's still a little bit wet and stuff's still drying and I've got time to do it, I'm not going to get the sprayer out at this moment in time. I have got a lovely 1.5" Monarch brush. I've got a lovely 4-inch 10mm roller, the Monarch. I've just brought the box in for you. The Monarch microfibers. I've got my little Pelican tub with my painting, and the idea is while stuff's waiting to dry, I'll just go round, coat the doors up, coat the inner edges, like the edges there that need doing on the proper way of doing a door, all ready for the spray painting that I'll do tomorrow. It's also a good idea to get a coat of that base primer on, because when you start going with the primer, that will soak in and take out any of the suction that causes problems if you don't prime. And you're going to say, what do I mean? Well, if you went round corking and you've not primed it, the moisture in the cork gets pulled out, and then all of a sudden your cork's not doing what it needs to do for adhering. So that's why I'm just going to go around, prime all these top edges, going on slightly onto the wall, it doesn't matter, I don't have to cut in. And then once that's dried, and this will dry pretty quick because it's water based, I'm going to go around with the Bostik A80 acrylic. Now I'm going to try this because this is what Ricky gave me at the Jewson's live show a while back, and I said I'd try it on a job where I needed to do filling. Now using this, it's supposed to be a proper acrylic cork, it shouldn't sink, so I thought this is ideal for going around top of the skirtings, just beading up around the door frames like over there, and this some back of the camera. So that's what I'm going to be using, and that's what I'm going to be doing for now. Coating it all up with this primer all ready for tomorrow. Now there has been some areas that have been scratched by the dog there, and it was a bit scratched off. What have I used? Prestonet. Big shout out to Dave at Prestonet. He's my local rep that let me try this, and it's the wood filler. It's already in a tub form, like so, and it's like a fine surface filler for wood. I know I'm working with MDF, but having used this previously, it dries nice and it sands lovely, and particularly when I've got, well, you can see I need a new sanding pad on it. I've got the Merkur to sand it down, and that's what I've done. There's an area there that I've just sanded down, and it's actually made it a nice smooth finish. So that's what I've done. Any areas that just needed a little bit of filler in any joints, and particularly where the nail heads were, I've filled it with that, gave it a couple of fills, sanded down in between coats, and we're ready to go for painting. So that's what I'm going to do. I will see you later, probably tomorrow, where we're actually going to get the sprayer out. So for now, don't hold me up, because what I'm going to do is get this primer coat on. I'm back. You just saw me telling you about what the plan was for yesterday, and I did. I coated everything up with the All Prime Bedec primer, just with that Monarch microfiber roller and the Monarch 1.5 inch, and that has dried lovely. So it's another day. I'm in new clothes because yesterday was a dirty, busy day, and I've come in this morning and I'm just about to prep, i.e. just give a nib down to all the woodwork just to get rid of any final little bits on it, and then I will do the corking up around the top edge. But before I came on camera, what I have done, where I had, well, let's say that again, where I had sprayed everything with the 2-in-1 primer, that's all nicely dry now. It's got a lovely finish if you touch it. It's quite a silky, I'm going to use Chris the Foxy Man, silky smooth. It's got a lovely feel to it. It's not like a dry contract matte emulsion. So that actual 2-in-1 primer is actually really nice to use for spraying mist coating. Now what I've done, now that's dry, literally I've gone over with my trusty worn sandpaper. This is a 120 sandpaper that's worn down now, so it's less than 120, and I've literally just gone over, and I'll show you, just you can see that it's just going over all the walls just to nib down. I'm not trying to sand the walls down. I'm not trying to prove to everybody that the plastering's rubbish, getting a Merkur on it, taking all the highlights off, and also pressing on too hard with a Merkur to clearly sand off the primer. All I've done with that is just go round, nibbing down the surface in case there's any spots, any last little bits that get blown from the back of the plug sockets that might go over the surface. And in my pocket, I have a little bit of worn sandpaper that round any sockets or any angles, I just clearly just run a piece of sandpaper down the edges, and then we can dust off any of the fallout that's on the floor. But what I'm going to do now is just get some worn gold flecks. That's a 150. If you look in the description below, I've got an Amazon link to anything like this in the Amazon store that I've got, so you can purchase products like this. 150, it's a worn one, it's still got plenty of scratch on it, shall we call it, and I'm just going to nib down all this woodwork round the skirting, and then I'm going to be corking up. Let me get on with that, and then I'll come back and just show you a little bit of corking up, and then once that's dry I can start getting some paint out. Just a quickie, I'm just going to show you how to cork up. Now I'm using the Boss stick. Can you see that? A80 acrylic. Now this is the professional grade acrylic decorator's cork, which is, it actually says which is instantly paintable. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it about 20 minutes before I get the paint out. But I just thought I'd show you how I cork up. I've cut the end on a slight angle. That's the key. Slight angle there. I don't think you can see it. Hopefully you can. And literally, I'll just get it into the groove, let's call it, get it into the groove, start squeezing gently and draw it all the way along, adding a little bit more pressure as I go, and if there's a little bit more of a gap, squeeze a bit more into it. Now it does slightly ooze out once you've released the trigger on the end. Just wipe that on your flooring, your boarding, wipe it on there, get rid of it. And then once I've actually got it into that top edge, I literally lick the finger to damp it and just smooth it out. That's all I need to do. Now I'm not ingesting anything, I am just gliding over it with a damp finger. If you've got a bucket of water with you and a sponge to dab your finger onto the sponge, do that. I don't like to go around with a damp cloth because I do feel that it pulls off as much as you're putting on. So literally a damp finger, smooth it over. That makes a nice clean edge against the actual wall there and across the top edge of the skirting. Now, I told you what I'd done. I'd actually sanded all these edges down, and while I went round, I even just rubbed down onto that plaster there as well and dusted off with the duster brush, as you saw. So we're all clean there. I'll just do another little bit that you can see on camera. There's a bit more of a gap in that corner because the joinery is a little bit wayward. I'm just going to ooze a little bit more into there, and where it's tight, I'll come in from the other side. Just draw it into it, as so. Wet my finger straight across it. Job's a good one. No need to do any more than that to it. If you have got deeper gaps that you do want to fill, you can always backfill it with something, or even just backfill it with a little bit more caulk. Now, these angles into the corners, I'm also just going to run a very fine bead straight up there. Lovely. That is dead neat. That's all you need to do. I do want to mention, always read instructions of things like this, because on the back it says if you've got porous surfaces, mix some of this, the A1, that's a road, the A80, it says here, preparation, substrates must be clean and dry and free from grease and dust. Pre-treat porous surfaces with a mixture of put my glasses on, I can't even read it. Let's start again. Pre-treat porous substrates with a mixture of 1 part Bostik A80 acrylic, which is this, with 2 parts water. Always test adhesion prior to application. So it's actually saying to you, if you've got a porous surface, you can mix some of this up, brush it on, and that will act as actually a primer stroke sealer to a porous surface. So who knew? Who knew? Right, I'm going to crack on, get all this corked up, get a sweep up so we've not got any dust, and then I'll start getting the quick shot out. Okie dokie, before I start getting the sprayer out, I just thought I'd show you how I prep up and get prepared for actually spraying doors. Now, depending on, this is clearly an occupied house. The kitchen is, well, it was bagged up yesterday, but because they wanted to still use it, I had to unbag it. So come next week when I'm redoing the ceiling and walls, that will be bagged up again. But these doors, I've got to be very careful that I don't get overspray going in to other rooms, which I obviously know how to control overspray. But what I do is make it easy for myself. I get a pot of paint out and I brush the edges. Now, you're going to say, Phil, why are you brushing the edges? I can't even get out, hold on. Because this has still got to have another coat. So it's had one and it's 20 minutes, it's dry. It's the Bedec MSP. So I've painted the edge there. I've painted the correct inner edge for the door reveal, and what I do is I tape up the edge that doesn't want painting and I make sure it just overlaps slightly. So when the actual door's closed, if you can see, it gives me an overlap round to stop anything coming through. I've also taped up the edge just there, just in case I cracked, particularly with this being such a dark colour. I've made sure that I've taped it so we can get a clean straight line. So that's that. Now, the purpose of me doing the edges first and not spraying them in, you've probably seen me do spraying before. I can sometimes tape up that edge, put some sheet bagging on and spray that at the same time. This time I'm not, because I want to protect the hallway. I'm closing the door because those edges will all be dry, and I'll literally spray the door closed, knowing that the edges that need to be painted have been brushed and the edges that don't need any paint in there have been taped, so they're protected. All I've got to do now is literally take these hinges up, which I will do off camera because at the moment I'm opening and closing the door. But that's where I am with that. I've just protected the sides of the kitchen units. I shouldn't be going anywhere near there, but I will be bringing the skirting board around. So that door, and I'll show you spraying that door and these bits of skirting, will be done in one. Literally, I will do the frames in one process, up and down, up and down, up and down. It will dry really quickly, and later this afternoon I'll get a second coat on. Right, I've swept all the skirting boards all the way around, so we're all nice there. And the other door, if I can get my words out, is actually an opening door that goes into another room. So I've put some more boarding down. I've actually got a roll end of Q1 tape for that. So I've got a protection sheet board down there. I've painted the inner edges. Again, I've still got another coat. I'll do that when I've actually finished filming. Another coat on these edges there. And what I've done, I've literally put some masking tape on the back edge just there and folded it back round. That allowed me then just to put the tape with the paper roll on across the top for a protection sheet. And when I'm ready to spray, I will drop another sheet all the way down there. So this door can be painted, let me just do it like that, slightly open. Let's look, slightly open. I'm trying to do it one-handed. Slightly open with the paper protecting the edges. There'll be a paper sheet there, and that will be painted in one as well. In there is already painted on the hinge edges, but the face will be all actually sprayed with a sprayer. Now what I've done on the other side, just to protect anything, you can see where the tape's there. I've just ran a couple of strips of tape down that opening edge and a little bit on there. So that just stops any of the little backdraft of spray going onto the edge if it creeps round. I doubt it if it will, but better to be prepared for it than not, because the door, if I stand back, the door will be painted ajar. And I do put a piece of tape over where the handle's been, just to stop any of the muck coming through. But that's where I am with it at the moment. This will take me, I'm going to say 5 to 10 minutes to spray. It'll be a couple of hours for drying off, and then I will finish off spraying it later today. But that's where we are. I'm going to just finish off these door edges and I'll get the machine out, get the paint ready. I will be using, all being well, a 206 spray tip. I'm not going to thin the paint because it feels quite thin anyway, and the setting for the Quick Shot will be setting 5 because that seems to be about the right one. But when we come to get the kit out, I will actually show you my setup of that. But good to go, nearly. Right, we're nearly ready to go. I've actually got the paint in there. I've not thinned it. It seems fine. I might have had a little bit of water in it from the last time I used it when I used HVLP spraying. But if you remember that video in the top corner, spraying radiators with HVLP, I actually only mixed up the paint that are required with some water to it. But I'm ready to go. There you go. Can you see it? 208 spray tip seems fine. I've got it turned to actually pump and spray. Can you see that there? Yeah. And can you see that? I'm on number 5. That seems about right. I've tried it a little bit more. It's too much, isn't it? And then if you go down between 5 and 4, you're about right. But 4 doesn't seem to give it actually enough oomph. Now, I've used the plastic bagging as a bit of a test area. I've got a nice fan pattern there. You can see it's just feathering off nicely at the edges. I did get a little bit of a blockage which I turned, reversed the tip round and then got spraying again, but all looks good. It seems to be a nice coat of paint going on, and I think I'm ready to go. The skirting round here, I will go onto the wall You'll probably know that. Don't worry about going onto the wall, because what I'm going to be doing, once it's all dry, I will go around with a bit of sandpaper, nib it down and then touch it in prior to actually spraying, just so we've got an extra coat over that. But try and keep it neat. You don't have to go all the way up there. You just, I don't know, a couple of inches onto the actual wall should be fine. You can see I've got some tape round. Now I think what I'll do, I'll go over there. I'll get the camera on the stand, which I'm doing now. Let's lock it into place. And I will let you see me spray, if you can. Right, let's get that down like that. I've got my mask. Now, what I will mention to you is that edge there, I might struggle just getting down there. We will see when we actually get the sprayer going, but if it's a case I just need to run a brush full down there before the final coat, I will do. But so far I don't think there's a problem with that, and I think we can actually get the sprayer out and spray that door. So bear with me while I tape up the hinges. What I've done there, I've just taped them up, but because I was using the 2-inch tape, it's actually sticking out a bit further than I'd normally like, so I've just trimmed those off, and that's nicely done. So I'm actually good to go. I'll just get my mask on and we'll get spraying. Now, I know you can hear me. I've got the slot bucket there, just so I can turn the tip round if I need to actually unblock it. So let's just untangle that. I've not got a lot of spraying to do, so I'm just going to hand hold it. And actually I might just put the cable at the back of me. So let's see. Down the sides, across the top, and let's see how we go. As easy as that. Lovely. I'll tell you what, let's do the other door so you can see that being done as well. That's all been taped up. Same principle. I've got it open slightly on a jar. Down the side, I'll go across the top this time. Down the side. Need to get some more paint. This is the only disadvantage using a quick shot. All right. Job's a good one. Now, I'm going to do the same with the skirting board, get that finished, and I'll see you at the end. There's no point showing you a second coat, but that is the principle. I've protected everything up, and that has actually sprayed. And you see, sprayed lovely. That'll be drying about 25 minutes. So I'll see you at the end. Just finished spraying, second coat. Can you see that filter? That was clear this morning. Let me turn it down. I've just turned it down. That was clear this morning, a bit of white sediment in it, but look at that. I've only done 2 coats in a medium-sized kitchen, and oh, I can do, look at that with me spotlight. Yeah. That has picked up a lot of dust particles in the air. That's that anthracite colour. Look at that. Tell me that's not worth its weight in gold. I mean, I've taken my mask off and even the mask's got a little bit of dark dust on it. But that's it. Buy one. If you haven't got one, buy one. Put that down. Right, let me just finish up. That took about an hour to dry off. I left it an hour and a half before I've actually come back to coat up, and I've done that. I've done that door again, and the skirting. I've used probably about 2 litres of paint, all via the Quick Shot. And I'm going to say to you, if you've not got one of these, why haven't you bought one yet? This has been so easy for me to actually set up, spray this little bit of skirting board, spray 2 doors, 2 litres of paint, and it's as easy to clean out. I've just got to tip the paint out, flush it through with some cold water, and then put some pump armour in it just to leave it till next time. So it's all cleaned out. Probably take me about 15 minutes. Don't say to me that it takes ages to do cleaning out of spray equipment. No, it doesn't. It doesn't at all. So there we go. This section of the video is all done. Come next week, I'm going to be spraying the ceiling and the walls. I might have a little bit of a area that I have to get the roller out just at the top of the units and at the side of the extractor that's behind you. It might be a little bit easy just to get a little roller on it and brush it round, but the rest of it will be sprayed. I will be taping up the skirting. This is going to have the weekend to dry off, and I'm really happy with the outcome. We go in a pale grey on the walls and the ceiling with this anthracite colour on the woodwork. How effective is that going to be? So thanks for listening to me. There's some videos at the end I'd like you to look at, and failing that, I think I've done. See you on the next one.